Today's lecture is about pelvic fractures. By the end of this lecture, the student should be able to describe the anatomy of the pelvis, describe the ligamentous structures providing support to the pelvis. They should be able to describe the mechanism of injury and classification of pelvic injuries. They should be able to describe the initial management of the patient with a suspected pelvic injury and describe the treatment options available for patients with pelvic injuries. To start with, we'll do a brief review of anatomy. So the pelvis is made out of two innominate bones. The innominate bones consist of the ilium, the ischium and the pubis. Here you can see them, the ilium, the ischium and the pubis. There are two main joints. One is the pubic symphysis, which is anteriorly, and posteriorly there are two sacroiliac joints. The pelvic brim is made of the arcuate lines that join the sacral promontory posteriorly and the pubic symphysis anteriorly. Below this brim is the true or lesser pelvis, which contains the pelvic viscera, and above this is the false or greater pelvis, which has the contents of the abdominal cavity. The stability of the pelvis is conferred by multiple ligaments running from the sacrum to the ilium, posterior and anteriorly. So, the most important ligaments are the posterior sacroiliac, the anterior sacroiliac, the sacrotuberous, and the sacrospinous. Of these, the most important contribution is that of the posterior sacroiliac ligament. The sacrotuberous ligament confers vertical stability to the pelvis, and the sacrospinous ligament confers rotational control to the pelvis. Between the pubis and the pubis, there is the pubic symphysis, which is anteriorly, and additional structures like the iliolumbar ligament and the lumbosacral ligaments also contribute to the stability of the pelvis. The mechanism of injury to the pelvis can be low or high energy. Low energies injuries can be following sudden muscle contraction, low energy falls, or a straddle type of injury. High energy injuries like road traffic accidents, pedestrian injuries, or fall from height or crush injuries can also occur. Injury patterns are based on the mechanism of injury. In case of an antero-posterior force, there is external rotation of the hemipelvis and anterior opening with the posterior hinge intact. This can lead to a pubic diastasis, as you can see here. In cases of lateral compression, which is the most common type of injury, there is impaction of bone through the sacroiliac joint and sacrum. The stability also depends on the area of the force which is directed to. It can be either towards the ilium, towards the acetabulum, or even lower towards the greater trochanters, which is not shown here. Following the lateral compression force, there is an internal rotation of the pelvis. Vertical shear is a completely unstable fracture with triplanar instability. In this, a vertical force, either superior inferior or inferior superiorly, disrupts the pelvis in such a way that all the ligaments are disrupted, leading to a very unstable pattern. For clinical evaluation, the first is doing a primary trauma survey, which is the CABC, which is cervical spine, airway, breathing, and circulation. We must perform initial resuscitation if required. We should also check for associated injuries like to the head, chest, abdomen, spine, as well as the GI system and the genitourinary system. We should check for distal neurovascular status as well as do a pelvic compression test, but it should be only performed once because there is a high chance of dislodging a fracture hematoma, which actually prevents the patient from going into shock many times. We must check the hemodynamic status immediately because the pelvis is a large area where large bleeding can be hidden. Hemorrhagic shock can occur due to a retroperitoneal hematoma following injury to the venous plexus or to the internal iliac or external iliac vessel disruption. We should check for the pulse, BP, saturation as well as the capillary filling time. Peripheral temperature is also a good indicator whether the patient is going into shock or not. The most important methods to control hemorrhage in pelvic fractures include the application of mask trousers, which give an external compression, the application of an anterior external fixator, using a pelvic binder circumferentially around the pelvis at the level of the greater trochanter, application of a pelvic C-clamp, open reduction in some cases, and angiography or embolization if hemorrhage. Associated injuries in pelvic fractures include injuries to the lumbosacral plexus and nerve root, to the bladder, urethra. A pelvic fracture is considered as an open fracture in case there is any perforation in the rectum or anus by the fracture fragments, or if there is any bowel injury. Gastrointestinal obstruction can occur if the bowel loops get entrapped within the fracture. Radiographic evaluation is done by first ordering a standard trauma series, which include an X-ray of the pelvis, cervical spine, and chest X-ray. Additionally, a fast ultrasound scan can be done to assess for any peritoneal involvement. Other imaging studies include a CT pelvis and an MRI. A typical pelvis X-ray can show you injuries to the iliac blade, to the ramus. Here we can see the superior ramus has been fractured, the sacroiliac joint, as well as transverse processes of L5 vertebra. It can also show you if any associated acetabular involvement is present or any fractures of the proximal femur are present. Special views such as Judet views are the iliac oblique view, which you can see here. Iliac oblique is where the iliac blade can be seen very clearly, and an obturator oblique in which the obturator foramen can be seen completely for the same side. Classification of pelvic injuries was done by Tiles as well as Young and Burgess. Tiles classified these fractures as either stable, rotationally unstable and vertically stable, rotationally and vertically unstable, A, B, and C, based on increasing energy of trauma. The stability of the pelvis keeps on decreasing and also shows the type of fracture patterns which are often seen. For example, a B1 fracture will cause an open book injury, whereas a B3 fracture is a bucket handle injury. C-type fractures are both rotationally and vertically unstable and may be associated with an acetabular fracture as well. Young and Burgess, on the other hand, classified their fractures based on the force which was being applied, such as lateral compression, antero-posterior compression, vertical shear, and mixed. These are also based on the increasing severity of trauma. So the treatment for pelvic fractures include first an initial resuscitation and assessment to address life-threatening injuries, and in case the patient is very unstable, application of a pelvic external fixator on an emergency basis is advisable. Definitive treatment can be either non-operative or operative. In case of non-operative, we can consider a pelvic binder with traction along with bed rest and analgesia. Fractures which are considered for non-operative management are minimally displaced fractures, fractures with stable configuration. Operative management allows for early mobility and decreased complications following bed rest. This can be done by open reduction and internal fixation using either reconstruction plates or cannulated screws, as you can see here. We should also be able to manage associated injuries like to the bladder, to the bowel, etc. These are my references. Thank you for listening to this video. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.